Hello Year 8s and welcome to my kitchen for our lesson on diagram sequences. You have an attachment in your Schoology that has these questions on it. You may have already tried them on your own and that's totally fine. Let's just go through to make sure that you're doing it correctly, and if you need any pointers, here you go. So we've got a diagram here, or a set of diagrams here, and you can see that they follow a sequence. That means that they follow a pattern. Diagram 1 has got one gray tile and 1, 2, 3 white tiles. Diagram 2 has 2 gray tiles and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white tiles. And diagram 3 has 3 gray tiles and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white tiles. Now hopefully the sequence of the gray tiles is pretty clear. Diagram 1 has 1 gray tile, diagram 2 has 2 gray tiles, and diagram 3 has 3 gray tiles. And that should be sort of the same idea as what you'll see in the textbook. One of the colors will have a very obvious pattern, 1, 2, 3, or maybe something that's slightly different, but not too complicated. What we need to do is find the rule for the more complicated color, so for our white tiles. But that's going to be made very easy because when you draw the diagram, you'll see that for diagram 1, I've drawn this sort of L shape, and diagram 2 is also an L shape with a bit extra. And diagram 3 is the same as diagram 2 with again a bit extra. So you'll notice the extra bit that you're adding on each time, which will make it easy for you to figure out what the rule is. So for part A, we just need to draw the next two patterns. And as I just said, if you already have diagram 3, you should know what extra little bit you need to add on to make diagram 4. And once you've got diagram 4, you'll know what extra little bit you need to add on to make diagram 5. Okay, so I'm just very quickly going to draw that, but I expect you to use a ruler and a pencil and make it really nice and neat. Okay, just a quick idea though, I'm going to draw diagram 3 again. So I've got sort of this big chunky L shape, and I've got 1, 2, 3 long rectangular bits there. And I'm just going to draw that little bit extra on the end there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 gray tiles. And then I've got the white tiles at the top, and then that extra white tile at the bottom, and then I'll do the next one. Same idea, I'm going to draw the same thing as diagram 4. Oh, I'm running out of space here. Now remember to space this out nicely in your book so that you've got enough space to draw the whole thing. Use the squares and think, how many squares do I need? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw that on there. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those rectangular bars of 3 squares high. That would be diagram 4, so diagram 5 I need that extra little bit on at the end. So I need to add on 1 more gray tile and 1 white tile above and 1 white tile below. Okay, so that's just me continuing the pattern. Part B, you need to copy and fill in the table. So as we said, the gray pattern is really simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can see that 1, 2, 3, and we've drawn the extra 4 and 5. So filling in for the white tiles should be just as easy because we've already drawn it, we just need to count it. So for diagram 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. For diagram 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And I can already see the pattern that's going to start forming here because I drew this myself. I know that for the next diagram, there are 3 gray tiles, and I just added on these extra white tiles. I added on 2 white tiles, so that's going to be 5 plus 2 is 7. Just counting to check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, so for the next pattern, I know how much extra I just added on. I added on 1 gray tile, and when I added that gray tile on, I added a white tile above and a white tile below. So I've got 2 extra white tiles now. 7 plus 2, that's 9. And I can check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then finally, I don't even need to count this one because I know that my patterns work for all of the others. I know that every time I add on another gray tile, I add 1 white tile on the top and 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to put another 2 on here. 9 plus 2 is 11. And just to be sure, I'll check. Maybe I drew it wrong, but I have the right pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's fine. Okay, so we're on to part C then. Part C is the term-to-term rule. And that is just the rule that I was using there to finish that off. I can see from one term to the next, so one value to the next in this number pattern, this sequence, I can see that they're always going up by the same difference. 3 plus these 2, the 2 that I keep adding on the end, is 5. 5 plus those 2 is 7. 7 plus the 2 is 9. 9 plus the 2 is 11. So my term-to-term rule is just that I'm always adding 2. I'm adding 2 each time. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. And this pattern will go on forever like that, always plusing 2. So my term-to-term rule, add 2 each time. Okay? But if I want to use the term-to-term rule, so to find the next term, I can always do that, it's nice and easy, but only if I know what the previous term was. So if I want to find the 6th pattern, I know, okay, I know the 5th pattern, the 6th pattern will have 13 white tiles. But if I want to find the 20th pattern, if I don't know the 19th pattern, I can't just use the term-to-term rule. So that's where the position-to-term rule comes in handy. And the position-to-term rule links not just from one pattern to the next for the white tiles, but it links the white tiles color, the number, to the gray tile number. So I say if there's 1 gray tile, there are 3 white tiles. What's the connection there? For 2 gray tiles, there are 5 white tiles. What's the connection? Is there a pattern there? Now looking at the diagram here, I'm sure there must be some kind of pattern. I always add on 2 white tiles with every gray tile, but there's an extra white tile out front. So 2 gray tiles for every white tile. So for this one, 2 gray tiles for every white tile, that would be 2. But there's the extra 1 out front, plus 1. 2 gray tiles for this, 2 white tiles for every gray tile for this one would be 2 times 2, that's 4. Plus the extra 1 out front, that makes 5. Right? So if I skip along here, 2 white tiles for every gray tile. If I have 5 gray tiles, 2 times 5 is 10, plus the extra 1 out in front. That's my rule. That's how I link the gray tiles with the white tiles. And it's a lot easier because I've got the pattern to use to see why it's like that. I know that there are 2 times the number of gray tiles plus 1. Right? So in this case, because we're using gray and white, I could say that white, let me just write that a little bit clearer. White, W for white, is equal to 2 gray plus 1. Okay, and if you're a little bit confused about that formula now, there's a reason why we're starting with these diagrams, because it's meant to make it easier for you. Let's try and figure out if we can understand why that works based on the diagram that we have. And now we've already kind of explained this. When I look at the diagram here and I look at the white tiles in terms of where they are in relation to the gray tiles, for every gray tile, there's 1 white tile above and below. So it's like every gray tile has a hug of white tiles. 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. But then there's always that 1 extra one. So my term rule works because for every gray tile, there are 2 white tiles that go along with it, 2 times the number of gray tiles. Plus there's that 1 lonely white tile that has nobody to hug out front. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about hugs here, I'm just going to talk about the way the pattern looks, is that every gray tile has 1 white tile above and below, so 2 with it, and there's 1 extra out front. Okay, my position to term rule works because every gray tile has 1 white above and 1 below, plus 1 extra white on its own. Okay? So you're going to have to get into the wording of that and think, how can I best describe what this looks like? Every gray tile has a white on top and below, so 2 whites for every gray, plus there's a white one out alone, so 2 times G plus 1. Now, as we said before, we can follow this pattern and I can find the next term if I know the previous term, but now that I've got the rule, I can figure out any pattern. So I don't want to have to draw this out, a pattern with 100 gray tiles. But I know that every gray tile has 1 white tile above and 1 white tile below. Plus there's that extra white tile out front. So I can either use this formula here For those algebraic people who like to use algebra, you can use that formula. Or if you're not so strong with the algebra, because we're using the diagrams, you can just sort of think of the reasoning behind that. 100 gray tile will have one above and one below. So that's going to be 200 plus the one up front, right? I'm going to write this algebraically so that you can see that. The weight is equal to 2 times the number of gray tiles, and in this case it's 100, plus that extra 1, that's going to be 2 times 100, 200 plus 1, 200, and 1 white tiles. Okay? And that's all you should really need to know. So hopefully you can get started with the exercise now that you've got your theory done, and send me a private message if you need any help. Okay, thank you. Bye.